we came up with. Use percent to calculate your mark on a test. Anything else you think of when you hear percent? Anything you want to tell me about it? Yep. Excellent. Out of 100. Percent's always out of 100. Use percent when calculating taxes. Do you know what the tax is right now in Ontario? 13%. Anyone know what it's called? HST. We're going to be talking about taxes tomorrow, but this is just an intro into percentage. You need to know how to use percent to calculate tax. Percent can be written as a fraction or a ratio. Good. Or one more? Yes? No, you. Or as a decimal. Excellent. Probability, and you just probably finished that, your last chapter in grade 8, right? Oh, that's a good one. Nutrition facts. They always use percent. Excellent. No one ever thought of that one yet. What else? Excellent. Discounts, if you have coupons. So that goes with sale price. If something's on sale, you'd calculate the sale price based on a percentage off. Percent into a fraction. Okay, well, it's easy to write it as a fraction because we know that percent is out of. Okay, so 68% would be 68 out of 100. But for all of these, I want you to reduce this to lowest term. So everyone do that right now. 68 and 100 are both divisible by 4. So we end up with 17 out of 25. Raise your hand if you got this as your final answer. Now, to go from a percent into a decimal, there's a couple ways I want to show you to do this. First, going from a percent to a decimal, so from here to here, okay? What do we need to do to go directly from a percent to a decimal? If we divide by 100, well, percent's out of 100, right? You're dividing by 100. 68% is the same as 68.0, right? Move the decimal 2 places to the left. 1, 2. We end up with what? 0.68. To do this is moving from a fraction to a decimal. Would you agree that 17 out of 25 is the same as 68%? Yes. So we can actually take our reduced fraction and turn that into a decimal. Should we get the same answer? Of course. They're all equivalent. How do you go from a fraction to a decimal? Yep. The numerator. Good. Numerator divided by the denominator. 17 divided by 25. If you do this on your calculator, what's the answer? You should get the same answer because they both represent the same thing. We can write it out of 100, 4 out of 100, and reduced is 1 over 25. Excellent. What is this as a decimal? 0.04. Excellent. Why is it not 0.4? What's 0.4? Good. 0.4 is actually 40%. So I want you to pay attention to the difference between the two, okay? Now this one's a little tricky, the last one. 13.5%. Well, what is that out of 100? So start by putting it out of 100. What do we get? 13.5 out of 100. But what's wrong with this fraction? It's a decimal. Can you have a decimal in a fraction? No. Any ideas? Why? If I multiply the numerator by 2, whatever you do to the numerator, you must do the denominator. I am creating an equivalent fraction. What's 13.5 times 2? 27 out of? Okay, are these equivalent? Yes. What is this as a decimal? Is this in lowest terms, actually? You can do 27 divided by 200 on your calculator, or you can do this mentally. Move the decimal 2 places to the... So we end up with 0.135. Good. If I have 1 over 2, and I want to know what that is as a percentage, this is an easy example because 1 over 2 represents half, right? But one way you can do this is you want to find an equivalent fraction that's out of 100 because we know percent is out of 100, right? 2 times what is 100? How do we get from 2 to 100? Yep. Sierra? Multiply by 50. So what do I have to do to the numerator? Multiply by 50. 1 times 50. Therefore, it is 50%. Good. I want you to try the next two. We have 18 out of 20, what percent that is, and 4 out of 5. Good. That's an excellent way to do it. You can also take 18 out of 20. You can turn a fraction into percent is divide 18 by 20, right? 18 divided by 20. You're turning it into a what? Decimal. What's 18 divided by 20? 0.9. How do I go from 0.9, a decimal, into a percent? Multiply by, move the decimal 2 places to the right. We have 90%. Excellent. Last one, 4 out of 5. What percent is that? Yep. Can't hear you. What is that as a fraction, an equivalent fraction? 8 over 10 or 80 over 100. Either of these work. Good. We convert from a decimal into a percent. We just did this. Multiply by 100 or move the decimal to the right. Can I just put a 0 here? Yes. 20%. B. What's B? Quickly. Carlo. What's the answer? 0.76 equals 76%. C. 14%. And the last one? 32.19%. Good. If I have, let's say, 75 candies, and I say that I will give Paul 15% of my candies. Well, aren't you curious to know how many candies I'm going to give you? We need to learn how to calculate percent of a number. What does of mean in mathematics? Yep. Multiply, exactly. So we're going to be multiplying something by 75. Well, I need to do something with this 15%. I need to punch it into my calculator, not as a percent, but as a decimal. How do we turn 15% into a decimal? We just did this. We're going to divide by 100, or we can move the decimal 2 places to the left. We end up with 0.15. So we're going to calculate 0.15 times 75, and what do you get? 11.25. I wouldn't really give you 11.25 of my candies. I'll give you 11. Okay? So approximately you're going to get 11 candies if I'm giving you 15% of my total.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.